This is part 2 of the North. This video we're going to talk about the Age of Heroes, which includes the Long Night as it relates to the North, and briefly about the founder of House Stark, Bran the Builder. Last video we talked about the Dawn Age, the coming of the First Men to the North, the theory that the first king of the First Men ruled from the North and a line of kings descended from him, the war between the Children of the Forest and the First Men, and the eventual pact between them that resulted in the Children of the Forest conceding all lands to the First Men except the Deep Forest. This pact ended the Dawn Age and brought about the Age of Heroes. The Age of Heroes would last thousands of years, and it's mostly accepted that it began with the pact and extended through the thousands of years the First Men and Children lived at peace with one another. During these years, kingdoms would rise and fall, great deeds were accomplished, and noble houses were founded and erased from time. Unfortunately, just like the Dawn Age, most of what is known of the Age of Heroes is legend. Oldest histories that Westeros has written occurred after the Andals came to Westeros, which leaves thousands of years unaccounted for, except with some ruins, stone monuments, burrow fields, and ancient castles left behind to draw conclusions from. Everything known of the Dawn Age, Age of Heroes, and the Long Night comes from accounts made by Septons thousands of years after the fact, which causes some question whether any of the history is true, including anything I say in this video. The validity of the stories are drawn under further criticism with the fact that the Septons who wrote down the tales took details that suited them and added others, while the singers changed details to fit their audiences, and so on. But what is agreed upon is when the pact was made and the First Men were granted all the lands save the Deep Forest, they finally had room to spread throughout Westeros. This led to the rise of many ring forts and petty kings and powerful lords. From these petty kings and lords came the ancestors of the Seven Kingdoms. This is also when the First Men established ancient traditions and legacies heavily influenced by the Children of the Forest. Some of these customs practiced in the North due to the Children's influence are guest right and the obligation for the judge to also be the executioner. The First Men in the North would hold on to these traditions the longest of any in the Seven Kingdoms. During this time, some grislier customs and practices were also around, such as hanging the bodies and entrails of criminals and traitors from branches of weirwoods as a part of worship. Luckily, these crueler traditions are no longer around in modern times North. So, everything is going great during the Age of Heroes. Legendary figures come to be, including Bran the Builder, the Children and the First Men are living in peace, kingdoms are rising, the First Men are expanding their territory, and then the Long Night comes. The Long Night came during the Age of Heroes and is a season of winter that lasted a generation. Children were born, grew to adulthood, and even died without ever seeing spring. Some tales say that these people never even saw the light of day. The winter was so complete on the world. And I'll be releasing an Age of Heroes video for all of the Song of Ice and Fire world eventually that discusses how this affected the entire known planet, not just the North. But since this video is just about the North, here is what is relevant to that location. During the Long Night, the winter was so harsh that women smothered their children rather than see them starve, and when they cried, their tears froze on their cheeks. The Northerners, living in such a harsh area where snow fell even in the summer, practiced a custom of self-sacrifice, where the oldest and most infirm would claim they were going out hunting, knowing full well they would never return. This left more food for the others, who were likelier to survive. During the Long Night, this practice was much more common in the North. It is in the grasp of this Long Night that it is believed the others came for the first time from the frozen land of always winter, the land north of the Wall. They hunted anything with warm blood, and no sword could stop their advance. These creatures were said to ride on monstrous ice spiders and horses of the dead, and they brought cold and darkness and the hopes to extinguish all light and warmth. As these creatures fought, they would resurrect the men they killed so that they could then fight for them. The others swept through cities, holdfasts, and kingdoms. They hunted maids through frozen forests and fed their dead servants the flesh of human children. But Maester spoil time. There's another theory as to what the others actually were, which a great majority of us probably disagree with. An Archmaester speculates that the others were actually a tribe of First Men and ancestors of the Wildlings that had established themselves in the far north. The Long Night forced this First Men tribe to begin a wave of conquest south for food and survival. This tribe only became monstrous in tale by the desire for the Night's Watch and the Starks to seem more heroic and as saviors of mankind, not just beneficiaries of a struggle over land. This theory, of course, is most likely not true from what we've read in the novels, even if the twisting of an enemy in history books isn't particularly shocking. But even when people disagree with the Maesters and say the others are magical in nature, there's still more debate about them. Did the others come because it was cold? Or is it cold because they come? Do they hide from light and only attack at night? Or does night occur when they emerge? Those questions don't have definitive answers yet, even for those that have faced the others themselves. How the Long Night was ended and how the others, whatever they truly were turned back is, of course, also debated. But in the North, they talk of a last hero who sought out the Children of the Forest for aid. This hero searched for the Children of the Forest in hopes that their ancient magic could turn back the others. The last hero set out with a sword, dog, horse, and a dozen companions. His quest to find the children and their secret cities lasted for years, and one by one, his friends died by giants, cold, servants of the others, or the others themselves, some while abandoning the hero. Finally, the hero's horse died, and then his dog. Then, his sword froze so hard the blade snapped when he tried to use it. Then the others smelled the hot blood in him, and came silent on his trail, stalking him with packs of pale white spiders as big as hounds. But thankfully he found the children before the others killed him. With the help of the children, and in banding with the Night's Watch, who were a group of brave men banding together during this long night, they were able to fight against the others, especially with the obsidian weapons that the Children of the Forest provided. Eventually, the Battle for Dawn occurred, a last battle that ended the winter and drove back the others to the north. With the defeat of the others, the long night was ended. The Children of the Forest would continue to give the men of the Night's Watch 100 obsidian daggers per year during the Age of Heroes to defend against the others should they ever return. To ensure the realm would always be safe, the legendary Bran the Builder built the wall to protect Westeros against any further attack. While building the wall, Brandon sought out the Children of the Forest for help, and he was taken to a secret place to meet with the children. With the help of giants, men, and mammoths, Bran erected the wall, and the Children of the Forest added their magic to it. From the illustration in the World of Ice and Fire, we are shown that men used scaffolding to build the wall, and mammoths and giants to do the heavy lifting. Bran would later give the Night's Watch Brandon's gift, a stretch of land 25 leagues wide. The Night's Watch still, 6,000 to 8,000 years later, defends the wall built by Brandon the Builder. After the long night, Brandon would also construct Winterfell, the seat of his descendants, House Stark. And many great deeds are also attributed to Bran, ones that would make his lifespan hundreds of years. Because of this, the Maesters believe the deeds of Bran were actually carried out by multiple descendants, and we'll talk more about that on Wednesday with a video solely focusing on Bran the Builder. But for this video, it's important to know that Bran the Builder began construction of the wall and founded Winterfell to be the seat of House Stark, the future Kings of Winter. Next Sunday is part 3 of the North. We'll talk about the Kings of Winter and the Starks gaining control of the North. On Wednesday, a video solely on Bran the Builder will be released. Check out Quick Lore for quick bite-sized geek videos, including videos on Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. And giveaway winner is announced on Wednesday. If you are a Walking Dead fan, Fear the Walking Dead review should be up this week as well.